Mind, body, and soul. When the body breaks and the mind is left intact, a process takes place where one is pitted against the other, leaving the soul standing in between the two, trying to play peacekeeper. Hello out there, welcome to the Knights of Awakening. I am your host, Knight Justin. Today we continue in the series, The Road to Recovery and New Beginnings, with Part 5, Humility, I Am Only Human. In the last KOA live show that I hosted, I talked about pride and passion. I touched on how these two words are almost seen as bad or harmful in many philosophies and disciplines. How as long as we do not let them go to extremes and become arrogance and obsession, then pride and passion are not only useful, but essential to living and walking a complete path. But what I didn't get into on that broadcast was that you don't have to go to extremes to misuse pride or passion. There are many different degrees in between pride and arrogance, passion and obsession. Today we're going to talk about pride, and I will illustrate for you how pride can be taken to the degree of arrogance. I want to warn you before we get too deep into this today, this show may get dark at some points. When I originally set out to do this series, I wanted to make patience a separate episode in the series. But what I didn't consider was how much of a role patience plays in the entire healing and recovery process. I'm going to be talking about patience as it relates to pride today. Because for me, this is where the two met almost to the extreme. In the blog I wrote for this episode, I gave an example of how I hated going to the store because I had to use those electric carts to get around because I didn't have the strength to use only my crutches in such a large and crowded area, and because I was not able to put any weight on my foot, even if I got tired. So the whole process was exhausting, which for me was very frustrating because I'm not one who easily gets tired. I didn't like the stares that I would get from some people. I swear they were talking about me under their breath. I could swear they were. I would try and figure out why they were staring and what they were thinking. This would really piss me off because, how dare they see me in this way? I am strong and capable, not some broken, weak invalid, unable to function and serve a purpose. My sense of empathy poisoned by my impatience and my pride. Frustration and anger turns pride into arrogance. I was unable to connect to them because of the escalating frustration and quickly mounting rage burning up from the pit of my belly, waiting to become an inferno of fire and brimstone. During these moments, I would often say to myself, how dare they stare at me, taking pity on me, feeling sorry for me, mocking me, and talking shit under their breath at me. Do they know just who in the fuck they are dealing with? This caused me to be frustrated with not just the strangers around me, but the people that cared for me. I would carry around that frustration with me wherever I went, just waiting for an opportunity to quote-unquote show them just who in the fuck they're dealing with. Frustrated by my lack of physical ability, frustrated by the fact that I felt like I was in everyone's way and slowing down the people I was there with. This, of course, would distress my wife, and she would try her best to calm me down. But her attempts were in vain. I would not be calmed and pacified. I wanted to unleash hell upon all of them. I would then turn my venom on her. It would turn into a fight oftentimes, right in the middle of wherever we were at the moment. And there were a few times where we would just leave a shopping cart full of groceries in the middle of a store because things would escalate out of control. In this state of mind, things would turn into an inferno rather quickly. I dealt with this a lot in the first couple of months, almost to the point where I would avoid going to any place that was either too large for me to get around on crutches or too crowded. And this added more weight to my load by placing a chip on my shoulder, getting me further away from the person that I really am. I would get very impatient as well. When I was recently diagnosed with a blood clot because of the surgery I had a few months ago, it almost became the straw that broke the camel's back. More than once in this whole ordeal, I kept getting the sense that the doctors and nurses were constantly lying to me. I became paranoid about it. I felt that either they were scared to tell me straight up, or they were trying to spare my feelings. Either way, at this point, I was all out of patience and I was not having that shit anymore. I was done being lied to, having my feelings spared, being treated as a poor creature who needed sympathy and pity. I allowed my mind and the feeling of self-pity to manipulate my reaction to the world outside of myself. Because I was getting so down on myself for not being able and capable that I was projecting my own bullshit onto the people around me. It was I who was staring at myself. It was I who was taking pity and feeling sorry for myself. It was I talking shit under my own breath at myself. Not that some of the other people that I talked about a few minutes ago were not acting in the way that they thought they were. But before the accident, I would not have given two shits about what anyone thought about me. And I shouldn't have cared now either. I said in the opening of the episode that mind, body, and soul, when the body breaks and the mind is left intact, a process takes place where one is pitted against the other, leaving the soul standing in between the two, trying to play peacekeeper. I, my mind, would give my body no quarter, would show it no mercy. It was almost at times disgusted by the lack of the body's ability, questioning my body's motivation and loyalty to the whole, becoming more and more impatient that it would never get better, poisoned by the prospect that somehow the body was useless and not worthy of respect. My body, trying to focus on healing and recovering, assuring the mind that if it would pitch in and direct positive thoughts in the body's direction, that the healing process would go much faster and more complete. Stuck in between the two was my soul, trying to keep the peace, trying to distract the mind and reminding it of the lessons it had once conceived, taught, and learned, trying to bring the three of them back together. Many hours, days, and weeks of contemplation takes place, considering the needs of the whole to put the parts back in place, placing faith and trust in those around me who know how to make my body better, understanding that allowing a quote-unquote civil war to take place within myself will not make anything better, using the whole of my will to focus on the act of healing and becoming stronger and more capable than before. Last week I started physical therapy. I was told to start walking around on my foot again. Although it hurts like hell, I'm happy for the pain. I'm happy because pain is only temporary and necessary to recovery. The pain gives me renewed vigor and motivation to push myself as far as possible. With a new mindset and a renewed sense of patience and a healthy sense of pride, I will be good as new in no time. I am not ashamed to share these thoughts with you. I am not ashamed to have felt the way that I did. I understand that this is the path and progression that is needed in order for me to take the next steps in the process. I wish that I did not have to drag those I love under the bus with me, but I am grateful that she knows and understands the person I really am and allowed me to go through this, even though it caused her pain, misery, and much embarrassment. After all, I am only human. I love you all very much, and until next time, awaken the night within.